Hello, everybody. Happy full moon. So, this video I'm making the day before, and we're already going to be feeling it. Remember, you can feel the full moon effects. They say 3 days before, 3 days after. Honestly, I think when it's an intense full moon, it can be felt even a week before or even a week after. And sometimes whatever comes up around that full moon is what persists or lingers. For example, somewhere in this full moon period, because it's a Scorpio full moon and the sun is in Taurus, it's a particularly fixed aspect because they're fixed signs and they're very strong, very strong. So often that brings up oppositional energy in our own lives, places where we're torn, places where there's like a line in the sand that's been crossed. So that's why I call it intense, just because the nature of that, just in essence, Scorpio Taurus. We're going to look at the chart as usual, but even just in essence, the Scorpio Taurus opposition that we feel twice a year. It's intense just by fact that both signs know what they want, know what they think, and will not budge. And so it just creates more potential conflict, or therefore more potential for needing to make a decision or draw a boundary line or let go of something in a more final way. It's not like the mutable signs, Gemini, Pisces, Sagittarius. It's not that flexible back and forth. So those full moons aren't usually as intense. The cardinal full moons, like we had last month in Aries, with the Libra, those are more of an intense nature by the fact that you're going to feel stimulated to action. Whereas the fixed signs are more like, now what do you want to do? I'm here, you're there. That's why I call them more intense. And because it's a Scorpio moon is going to the bottom of the ocean. They're going to get through the shadow. They're going to get through the murk. They're going to get to the bottom of it. And you can't stop them from trying to go deeper into that terrain until they get the truth or get their answer. So that's why I call this particular spring full moon, when it's the Scorpio full moon, more intense than when it's the full moon in Taurus in November. Because the Scorpio moon is the deepest of all the moons. It's that drive to get to the bottom of things, no matter how deep and dark they have to go, how obsessive that can be for some people. You're talking about facing layers of your shadow self or others' shadow self. That is really what a Scorpio moon does. Now, it's a super full moon, and it's a pink moon, because that's what it's called this time of year. And so we're going to take a look now at what I see in this particular chart, if there's things that are making it more or less intense, helping it out or not. And then we're going to do our cards as usual and our readings for every sign. And I will define what the question will be once we get through the chart. All right, so here we go. And it's the first time I look at the chart. So this is my raw reading of the planets for this moon. So the chart is cast for the Eastern time zone. So if you live in the Eastern time zone, Quebec, Ontario, New York State, all the way down to Florida, this will directly apply based on the houses. If not, like I said, if you're in Central Time or Pacific, you have to, the houses where the moon is falling and what affects what by house will be slightly different. So if you're in the Eastern time zone, this Scorpio full moon has a Sagittarius ascendant. So that means, as deep as the emotions may go, maybe privately, the Sagittarius rising is going to be more buoyant. It's going to be more active and optimistic. Or it might stand on its soapbox and be very righteous about which Sag can go either way. But I would say at a first glance that this Scorpio moon is probably got a face or a mask of keeping it positive, whatever's going on, in a good way. Now, we have Mars that just entered Cancer. Very interesting. And this is supporting the moon. It's making a trine. Mars and the moon together sometimes can be one of the most difficult combinations. If they are at odds, then Mars either conjunct the moon on top of it, or opposite it, or squaring it can usually mean like nastiness, manipulation, abusive dynamics emotionally, self-abuse as well on whatever level that means, not being nice to yourself, going against. And even sometimes like Mars can be acts of aggression. And when it's with the moon, it could be, it could cut. In this case, Mars is in Cancer, a water sign, fellow water sign, and it's making a beautiful aspect to the moon. So Mars is supporting the moon right now. And that would tell me to go with your feelings, go with your emotions. If you feel Mars in Cancer is very sensitive, think of the crab. It's like comes out of its shell and then it's not safe yet. And then it's like comes out a bit. And so crabs also move sideways. So this tells me that we're not looking for any conflicts right now. Nobody really wants to deal with the conflict. Nobody really wants to deal with like a big head-on energy. That is what's supported the most, because we also have Jupiter, which is now already at 27 degrees Aquarius. But this is by math, by the mathematical angle, it's actually making a full supportive, a full trine, a grand trine with the moon and with Mars. So this is our nicest sweet spot for this full moon, is Jupiter in Aquarius, very accepting, very expansive, innovative, goes off and does its own thing. You do you and I'll do me, and as long as nobody's hurt, doesn't matter. That's the attitude. Mars in Cancer, it doesn't want a head-on collision with anybody emotionally. It just wants things to be. Mars in Cancer is sort of a tricky one. Sometimes they want you to read their mind, or you might feel like you're walking on eggshells a little bit when Mars and Cancer is around. But they can also be extremely nurturing and tapped into other people's feelings very well. When it's with the moon in Scorpio, you might be a downright detective. You might be picking up on stuff with the people in your life on a more intimate level than usual. You might be highly intuitive with this combo. And you might just be dreaming of people or picking up on stuff that's maybe a little bit of a mystery even to that person, because the moon in Scorpio is mysteries as well as the psyche. And Mars and Cancer, both of these are like psychologist kind of planets, and Jupiter also helping those things out with Aquarius. This is a great moon for doing healing work, for psychology, for listening to your friends or your family. If there's any people need a shoulder, it's a great moon for delving into your depths. It's a great moon for doing any meditation or healing work or therapy, hypnosis, you name it. It's a good moon for going deeper. Now let's talk about some of the not so easy parts of this moon aspect. So as we said, it's opposing Taurus. And we have a cluster of things in Taurus right now. So we have the Sun, Uranus, Venus, and Mercury all in Taurus. And the moon is directly opposite. So actually, that does mean that there's a lot of argumentativeness in the air if you choose to tap into that side of it. People will be ready to be very opinionated, stand their ground. They won't budge. And there could be, because of that, a sense of like reactionary, statements that are made, a bit of nastiness, maybe a bit of bullying aspect. And at the same time, all of those Taurus planets are squaring off with Saturn. And that's where this gets to be a tough full moon if you end up on that side of it. Because Saturn in Aquarius is telling you, you have to live and let live. You got to let people go off and be who they need to be. You have to accept that not everybody's the same. Not everybody wants the same things, wants the same things that you perceive to be healthy, normal, productive, because Taurus really likes, especially when you got 4 planets there, Taurus really likes its security and its stability. So it doesn't like things to change. It wants it to be the same old way it always was. Well, we always did it that way here. We've been doing it this way for 50 years. Great. We need some people to uphold tradition. No fault to that at all. The problem is that they get uncomfortable, or sometimes they can even bully the ones that don't want to uphold the tradition. And Saturn in Aquarius is pulling you away, saying, no, it's time for a new world here. It's time to, so be it. People are in tribes, people are in different groups and different pods, and they have different views on the world, and it's not this uniform box and everybody is fitting in it all nice and neat so that Taurus can feel secure. It's diversity. So this is going to challenge the Taurus side quite a bit, because the moon in Scorpio is also saying, hey, tap into what's really going on. Look a little deeper here than just the old traditions and rules. Moon in Scorpio is transformational, very deeply transformational. So with Saturn actually squaring the moon as well, it's asking all of us to transform on the psychological level. And that's hard work, right? That can be scary. But if you can look at, if you're running into oppositions right now, if you're running into conflicts or walls, then you got to ask yourself, what's that wall about in me? Am I fixed? Am I too stubborn or too fixed on certain things, certain beliefs about myself or the world or the people I'm dealing with? How can I go to the next layer of the onion to get some broader understanding of what's going on? And that's where you'll tap into that Mars in Cancer, Jupiter, Moon, Mars. Oh, I'm getting this feeling of an undercurrent here that I didn't sense before. Oh, I have an insight. I think this is where that person feels threatened. I didn't even see that. This is why we're getting into a conflict. If you tap into that level of like tuning in to yourself and other people, and you're willing to open your beliefs and your mind, you're willing to let the world be a new world. So we are coming into a new world. It's not going to go back to what we knew. It'll go back. Some things will be restored, I'm sure, to what we knew, but it'll never be quite the same after an experience like this, meaning COVID, meaning lockdowns. How could you go through something like this for a year, maybe hopefully not 2, and not be changed? So we have to let this change us. And everybody's making new decisions based on your perception of what's going on right now and how to respond to it and how to make plans for the future. So what else we have going on here is that same Saturn that is challenging the moon, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Uranus is in harmony with the North Node in Gemini. We've been talking about the North Nodes for a while now. They stick around signs for quite a while. So the North Node in Gemini also talks about being adaptable and diverse and sort of keeping things a little bit lighter but broader, so that wherever you go, you can sort of, oh, that's how this group functions. All right, I know what to do here. I'm going to adapt. I know enough facts. I know enough little stuff to make an inroad with this person and that person. And again, diversity and multiplicity of different interests and groups and different people and different kinds of ways of living. That's another focus of a North Node in Gemini to me. We have some other helpful, nice dynamics here too. We have the South Node, which is Sagittarius, making a good aspect to Chiron. So both of those things can be not so easy placements, because the South Node is, it's the past. It's what you need to move away from. Chiron is the wound, where we're wounded. So, but those two planets are in harmony. So to me, that just bodes well for one little nudge again, like let go of past wounds, work on your stuff, heal your stuff from the past. It's working well for you if you do that. What else do we have? The others are sort of minor aspects that are mostly helpful here. We do have Neptune squaring off with Mars. That's not nice. Again, something, Neptune and Mars together, not good. Not when they're in water signs as well. Be careful of anything that you feel people are evading or hiding. Even scammers, like a Mars Neptune could fall under scamming, or people pulling the wool over, people that are not, they're evading giving you straight answer. Neptune square Mars can definitely be lying and deceiving and hiding and scamming. But I don't get a feeling that's like a huge part of this moon, but it could be. But again, moon in Scorpio is a detective. Trust your instincts this moon. If anything feels like that was a little bit of a weird answer, we're not saying go and start an argument and confront them, and have a big bullying session like this full moon could do. We're just saying, note to self, keep the feelers up. Don't drop your guard. Something feels weird. Just go, all right, that's a little off. I'm going to trust my gut on this, and I'm just going to watch and see. Do I keep feeling it? Do I get more verification? And then at some point you might feel, okay, I think I've seen enough proof. Now I can say something. So Mars, Neptune, maybe you're going to uncover some of those, lying, hiding, cheating, not telling the full picture kind of vibes. This could be about anything. It might be something right on your path right now where you need to make a decision about going ahead with somebody or something. But this could also talk about healing something from the past. You might, like, again, the moon in Scorpio and Mars Cancer. This all might activate a lot of dreaming. Maybe you have a dream and you wake up and you go, oh my Lord, my first boyfriend from high school. Right. This is what he was doing. Oh my God, now I understand. It could be insights into ways that people weren't always clear and clean with you in the past. And now, again, you can heal that if you're willing to see it. Chiron is also squaring off with Mars again. So dealing with our wounds, our egos. Got to be careful, a little bit of just the ego. And other than that, yeah, minor aspects that don't really say anything to me to worry about. Now, again, let's talk about the houses a little bit. If you're on the Eastern time zone, the sun is in the 4th house, meaning stuff on the home front. Your family, or actually the place where you live, anything domestic. Let's put it that way. Anything, that's where you could feel some of these things playing out with, like I said, bullying or conflicts, or I don't know. That could be anything from an argument with somebody that you live with. Try to minimize that. Insights about people that you live with or about your family. Stuff going on in and around your actual physical dwelling could be coming up right now, especially with Uranus hitting it. Like there could be sudden renovations or something suddenly needs to be fixed, or sudden people coming in and out the door that you didn't expect. A little bit of element of surprise there in the home front. The moon is in the 11th house, the Scorpio moon. Oh, sorry, the 10th house. So this talks about stuff with your career. And when it's a moon in Scorpio, the moon in the 10th house can talk about being in the public eye and your public reputation. And the moon would be like, the moon there, especially in Scorpio, could be like a total sex scandal for somebody, you know, gets exposed in the media. So I'm not predicting that for every person watching, but maybe we're going to see some of that in the news. Again, for the average person, I would say you're thinking a lot about your position in your career. Maybe you're considering some of these things like, how visible do I want to be in my career? You know, how much in the public eye or on social media, how much recognition, you know, because Moon in Scorpio in the 10th to me would be somebody who would like to be known for what they do, but in a private kind of way. Like they'd probably want to have an underground reputation for something, but not really be too public about it, because you'll never get a more private moon than Scorpio moon. So it's a bit ironic in that house. The Mars in Cancer that I was mentioning is in house number 7, and that talks about relationships, marriages, partnerships. So, you know, the planets are basically supporting, like I said, if you tap in and tune in on an intuitive level, on an emotional level, on a trying to have insight about yourself and the other, and don't really worry about talking about it or confronting it or bringing things up, then you might see that increase your closeness to people, to partners. If, on the other hand, you can't help yourself and you're going to cause some, you know, cause some steam, and you snap or you've got to bring it up, well, then that Mars in the 7th house could bring some arguments into your relationship life. So I'm always on the side of avoiding the argument unless you're really choosing your battles. If it's time to stand up, you will know. If it's just being restless and reactive and frustrated about something else, and it comes out as just a silly, maybe it isn't silly, but like as a small or a petty kind of argument or a theme or annoyances, then you want to avoid that and go within, because those things can lead to hot water. You know, they can get out of hand and snowball and become ugly. When it's really in Scorpio, you need to dig for what is the real reason. Why am I restless? Why is it that I can't stand to hear them breathing in the room anymore? If that's it, why is it that, you know, this person's late and it's really making me feel abandoned? Why, you know, instead of like picking on and like the Taurus side, I want it the way, you know, I want it nice and stable and secure and reliable, and you're not that, and so therefore you're wrong. Moon in Scorpio would be like, I wonder what the deeper reason is why they're always late. I wonder what the deeper reason is that when people are late, it makes me feel abandoned. That's the way to use this. Then you avoid deception and lying and evasion from the Mars Neptune, and you get to the bottom of it, and then you heal it, which is great. You know, that's the way to use this energy. So let's take a look now at the cards for this moon and see. You might see cats passing by. Maybe you already have. I wasn't looking behind me. I have 2 cats you might see walking by. So let's definitely burn some sage first. I think it's a good time of year to sage your place. I always like to start doing it in the spring when we start to plant and we start to open the windows again, and Just giving our space a good cleanse from whatever's built up over the winter. All right. I'm going to do the cards. All right, so let's just see what comes up. Oh, something flew out of the deck, so we got to go with that one first. All right, so the first card then that flew out of the deck is the Eight of Cups. So Eight of Cups, as you can see, doesn't look like an easy card. It's people feel like a bit maybe down, a bit depressed, a bit like you're at the end of your rope. Eight of Cups is a time when people feel like, why bother? What's the point? You know, you just feel like giving up and walking away. Other decks definitely use different imagery for the Eight of Cups, and it's usually a person walking away. So sometimes, you know, the wisest thing to do is to walk away. Sometimes this is the point of defeat where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I give up. And sometimes giving up is, you know, we think, oh, giving up is being a coward, or it's not being responsible. It's not following through. But sometimes giving up is surrendering and stopping fighting a battle you can't win. So you might find yourself on this precipice with something this full moon. You know, do I walk away? If I walk away, is it a good thing? Is it surrender? Or is walking away deep down, are you walking away because you're running away? That only you can answer. Ask yourself, am I running away, or am I surrendering and accepting the situation and walking away? Interesting place to start. Our next card, excuse me, itchy nose. Our next card is the Princess of Swords. So this is somebody who's struggling. She's usually quite clever or intelligent, or she does a lot of things at once. She might know a lot of people, but her life is always a bit of a whirlwind. It's always a bit hectic. There's always drama in this girl's life. And she creates a lot of her own drama because she's not stable. She can't, she's like intermittently reliable. Sometimes you can count on her and then, whoa, what happened? And then you really can't. And so it's this scenario where, let's say, and this could be a guy too, it doesn't have to be a girl. You know, let's say this person typically they get a job, they're a bit hectic and restless on the job, but they overall get the work done, but you get this feeling that they're always restless, or there's always something difficult with them, like you're expecting any time now, like there could be a time bomb at work, but they're doing it. For now, they're okay. And you think, all right, I gave this person a chance. They're reliable, even if they're a little shaky, but they seem to be okay. And then one day they just do something totally erratic or totally inappropriate, or they cause an argument at work, or they storm off, or they're sick for 3 days and they didn't call you, or something that breaks your trust, and you already didn't have the strongest trust for her anyway. And so Princess of Swords, she will get mad if she gets fired. She will get mad and debate you if you bring up that she's not being very reliable. She'll get defensive, and sometimes she'll get vindictive. And so you want to watch for this chick. If this is someone around right now in your life, or if this is you, you gotta rein this person in, because they can wreak havoc if you don't have boundaries with them. Now, the good news is the next card is the Ace of Swords. So there's, you know, that insight, that clarity of mind, clarity of words, short and sweet. You know, Ace of Swords would just go in and say, it's not working out. You know, when it comes to all the drama that the Princess of Swords could bring, it's like, well, you're always late. There it is. Spit it out, clear and clean and quick with the Ace of Swords. Or the Ace of Swords can be a sudden aha moment where you go, oh, she's actually, and then fill in the blank. And maybe you get an insight about this person that suddenly makes you understand everything. So this is the hopeful part. If you're going through any drama with people, insight is on its way, and the clarity of your message to solve the problem is really important. And also Princess of Swords, or whoever represents that to you, she doesn't like long explanations. So short and sweet is the best. All right, the next card is the Sun, which is very nice. Go out and shine. Let yourself shine. Recuperate and bring back in any kind of playful or youthful or childhood related dreams, hobbies. The sun is, it's beautiful to go out in the sun and just bask in the sunlight. It's joyful. So to me, it looks so far like there's a clearing and cleaning of the deck with somebody complicated in your life, and it brings back the joy and the sun. Now, the next card is the Queen of Wands. So again, a strong figure, strong, sometimes demanding, sometimes overbearing, but overall, no nonsense, tough cookie, very dynamic. It's like a movie star, like a Hollywood star, or like a high-level executive. You can't mess with her, you know? So if that's you, well, maybe you're taking that power back, and because it's a fire sign, wands, again, it's expressive. To me, it seems to go hand in hand with the sun. It's like you took your power back, you're feeling more joyful, go out there and be even more confident or bold than you were before. All these people cards, all these court cards today. Wow, it's all about people, I think, this full moon. So our next one is the King of Swords. He's also very smart. He's quick. He dashes in. He's clever. At his best, this is the guy you go to for all the facts. This is the guy that he could be like a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, somebody who knows exactly, has all the knowledge, could be a surgeon. You know what I mean? That's the kind of high level mentality. Now, if this guy doesn't have those type of education and profession, then sometimes this guy can be a sociopath because he's very clever. He's very clever. So you just want to pay attention. Who is this guy? Try to see through the cleverness, even if it's the noble one, the doctor or the lawyer or the somebody that you engineer, and you think, oh, he's so smart. I'm going to put him on a pedestal. He's smarter than me. He must know better than me. He must be a good person. Well, not necessarily, and the guy who's like really smart, clever, doesn't have the education, but he's very clever on other matters in life. And that guy, you might at first glance think has bad intentions, or you put him less than on the scale, but he actually is more clear and helpful than the other one. It's just, for me, the message about this guy is just check that you're not putting anybody down or up right now. No pedestals and no demotion. Try to see this person clearly. Try to see where their intentions are coming from. And another court card, we have the Princess of Discs. So again, she's very no nonsense, very Taurus, very down to earth, a resourceful person, generous, but not a pushover. And her connection is very much to the earth. As you see, she's out in the woods. I would say this would be a good sign to let's just hold that energy for ourselves right now. Let's not get too worried about anybody around us. There's a lot of people around this reading. Don't be swept up by everybody's everything. everybody's reactions, everybody's statements, everybody's, I don't know, their demands, their needs, their lives. Don't get too wrapped up in everybody. This moon in Scorpio wants you to go within yourself, not get all wrapped up in everybody else. So if you need to be outside, if you need to connect to nature, if you need to start your planting, if you have the weather for it, get out and walk barefoot on the ground and get connected to your earthy side and just stay in yourself. Stay with yourself. Because the next two cards are, again, a bit challenging, which is interesting. So we've got the Seven of Wands, which is usually about time for boundaries. It's time to stand up for yourself. Don't take any crap. Don't allow people to walk on you, or even try. It doesn't even have to be toxic or dramatic. It can just be small things that you feel are personal boundaries or transgressions. For example, for me, I don't like a lot of noise at home. So maybe I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but would you mind being a little quieter right now? Because I just really need some quiet right now, please. Could be on a simple level like that. But as you get grounded and you stay with yourself and your own issues and your own emotions and your own process, there's probably going to be some boundaries you need to set. And then we've got the Chariot, which is another 7. So it's 2 7 cards. The Chariot is obstacles, and it's sort of rallying these, well, it's hard to see them, but there's these little charioteers sitting at the front, and they don't look like they want to move, right? And you have this massive charioteer in his huge armor in this huge chariot, and it's like he wants to go, right? He wants to move. And these guys are just, it's like 4 of them just sitting down on the job, like. So you have a conflict. You have to, how do you motivate these guys to get up and pull your chariot? So this guy, the charioteer, maybe he has to change his approach. He has to relax a little, not be so intense. And these guys have to be not so lazy, but maybe they're being lazy because he's overbearing. So both sides have to make adjustments for the chariot to move. And so this is probably the scenario that maybe many of you were in. Because there's a lot of people around this reading, and I keep feeling like, go within and take a look at yourself in the situation and think about your own reactions and your own needs. And then the rest of it feels to me like a negotiation of different people around you. And in order to get people to stand up and work together, when you've got all this Taurus, Scorpio, and Saturn over here going, fixed, strong, immovable positions don't tend to work for that. If you're in that situation and you want to bring people together to be on board, you have to relax your view and they have to relax their view. But we're not talking about capitulating so that, somebody's a doormat to the other. 7 of Wands, you set your boundaries. You don't let people walk on you. But it's the art of how do you relax your stance in such a way that the other person relaxes their defenses and their stance without either person feeling like they have lost. And that is, to me, the ultimate art of the Chariot. The good news is that the Chariot card is a Cancer card. And we have Mars in Cancer, which if you tap into that Moon-Mars combo, to your intuition, worry less about your stance and read the energy a little better of people's true reactions and undercurrents, then you'll be able to know much better how to soften your approach if need be, or when to let down and give an inch, and when the other person needs that, and when it's required that they're overstepping. This is all, to me, about like reading the energy and being intuitive about the deeper dynamics below the words, and then you'll be able to get things running a little bit better. So yeah, wow, what a chunky reading this was today. So if any of you need help with a personal situation, if any of this is ringing bells for you, you can reach me. My website and email are going to be in the comments below. But now let's take a look at our let's take a look for the readings for every sign. All right, I'm just setting this up as usual so that I can mark down the timings of when everybody's readings come up. There we go. Sorry about that. My computer is not that huge, so I had to adjust. And I can see the time. There we go. Almost there. All right. So let's take a look at how can we phrase the question for everybody's personal readings this month. Let's take a look at handling conflict. How do you need to handle conflict at this time based on your sign? Because I find so many people have trouble with that in life, myself included. If you don't grow up in a household that knows how to let other people be frustrated and angry and resolve it, and everything's either angry all the time or suppressed all the time, then you don't know how to deal with conflict very well. So let's just see, how should each sign handle conflict in life right now? All right, so Aries. Well, interesting. You have the Knight of Swords for your conflict style. This is, quick, fast, furious, full of facts. The Knight of Swords is fierce, right? Like a sword and a knight. Come on, a king. Dashing in on his sword, fighting. That's very Aries. So, how would you deal with conflicts at this time? I would say, because the King of Swords could be really fierce, ask yourself, does your situation require your full warrior mode? And ask yourself, if it doesn't, am I dashing in like way too much, way too quickly? Because the danger with this guy in a conflict is that he'll just take over. And so, it doesn't really get resolved. Like, it might get squashed because somebody comes in and just says, fine, this is what we're doing. You're wrong and this is right. And that's what we're doing. And he just talks over everybody. And if you get lucky, he does know how to solve the problem. But sometimes this guy doesn't necessarily know how to solve the problem. And everybody else is sort of silenced or doesn't get a say in the solution. And so everything can pop up and be a problem all over again. So I would just say, ask yourself, is there someone overbearing? Or is it possibly you that's overbearing? Does your situation require somebody to dash in, like an intervention? Or, I would just say, to balance, ask yourself about how intense do I need to be? How quick? Is somebody just taking over? Am I just taking over? Am I allowing other people to participate in the solution? Or do I feel like I'm not participating in the solution? And don't allow somebody to just override everything. Interesting. I'll have to see if any Aries write to me about this, whether that fits. Okay, Taurus, how should you handle conflicts right now? Interesting. The Star. That's interesting. So the Star card is all about wishes and dreams and hopes and ideals. And I like this message a lot, actually, for you, Taurus, because what this is saying is, if you're in a conflictual situation, your best route would be to take this Aquarian side, open up possibilities. Say, instead of getting stuck in a rut over, like, I don't know, splitting hairs over a procedure or a word or whatever might be people are stuck on, instead you might say, okay, let's just pretend that we have all the money in the world, and let's just pretend that for a second that there's no consequences, if we just think this through in a new way. So ideally, what would be your perfect solution to this problem we're having? Ask the person that you're in conflict with, what would be your ideal solution if we didn't have to worry about how it was fulfilled? Sort of like that question when people say to you, if you didn't have to worry about money, what would you do for a living? What would you do for your work? Because that'll show you, the difference between your dreams and your fears of what you feel you have to do to get by, or what you think is logical. We're trying to tap into what's possible, what's the dream, what's the ideal goal. So if it's an interpersonal conflict, I don't know, about something like you want to go on vacation and they don't, or something, I don't know. Then you can ask the partner, well, ideally, if we didn't have to worry about money or COVID right now, would you want to go on a vacay? And pull it into the realm of that, because when people can set aside the practical level, which is real, but when they can set it aside in their mind for a minute, then you don't get this sort of triangulation of they're trying to tap into what they want, but then some practical thing goes, yeah, but that doesn't make sense, or yeah, but we can't because, and then you get locked in the triangle. Whereas if you set aside, okay, what if we didn't need to worry about the money, or what if we didn't need to worry about COVID? Then you're exploring now what people actually want without the worry of the practical. And it often helps people get to the truer nature of what's going on, or it allows for new solutions to come up. So your message for conflict is try to create a space where you're talking about the dream or the ideal, and see if it helps you get past any stuckness. Gosh, I really like that message. That's a really interesting one. Okay, Gemini, how do you need to respond in a conflict? Interesting. Queen of Discs or Pentacles. So it's interesting because she's a businesswoman and she's very practical. She's definitely got her wealth, right? She has her kingdom, her space, her wand, her little her ram, her little henchman, protector. So she's well taken care of. So that could be part of your message. How do you deal with conflict? Make sure that you are well taken care of. If you need to put up any kind of boundary or whatever you need to tackle something or take on or stand up for, make sure you've got people in your corner. She's got this henchman here, this little ram that's like, and who are you exactly? Sort of like a gatekeeper, at a big corporation who doesn't let you get past the front desk. So you need the equivalent of that. You need to make sure that if you're going to tackle something big, you've got your financial resources, your home is fine, you've got people around to back you up or to help you. And then you're free to take a stand and say, by the way, I'm going to take this on, or I need to say something to you, or I can't, or whatever is coming up. The other thing about this as a conflict style would be she is looking away, isn't she? She's not even looking at us. You could take that as a metaphor. Sometimes maybe certain conflicts, maybe you do need to just look the other way. It would be a message to me of like, well, pick your battle. Is this really your battle? This little henchman is taking on the battle instead. Maybe you delegate. Maybe you ask somebody to help you. Sometimes that's the best solution. And the last thing I'd say about Queen of Discs as a conflict style would be it'd be very practical. She's not going to get into a heated argument. She's going to break things down into pieces and parts, step by step, and be calm and logical. So it's to stay very, very problem solving mode and stay calm. Very interesting message because, you know, Gemini, if there's a conflict, I find a lot of the time, either it gets drama from here to 100 miles an hour with lightning speed talking and way too much going on. And then there's the inevitable Jekyll and Hyde, close down, silent treatment, won't speak to you at all. So I like this. This is a happy medium, calm, practical problem solving mode. Or ask people to help you or to speak for you if you need to. And that's probably just coming up as a message in this particular thing that you happen to be thinking of as we're speaking. It doesn't mean every situation for life. It's just if this full moon is bringing up a conflict, this is how to go about it this month. All right, so let's take a look now at Cancers. Cancer, how should you handle any conflicts? Ay, 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 yuck. Well, 7 of Cups. Alrighty, well, this is really loud and clear to me. This is as you can see, this is a swamp. Look at the green, swampy, slimy water. So that's got to be cleaned up. That's all I can say. This kind of conflict, if this card represents any conflict you're in, it means that it's deeply mired in toxic emotions, in old trauma, in lack of transparency, in projecting all kinds of crap onto everybody else, whether you're doing it or they're doing it to you. To me, like the answer to this is pull yourself out of the swamp and take a good bath. Like that's honestly, I might not be very profound advice right now, but I've just learned the hard way that when you are in a swampy situation like this one, because this card can represent anything from substance abuse, sexual abuse and addiction, cheating. You know, this could represent like the toxic dynamic of a narcissist and an empath. This could represent somebody who's chronically not telling you the truth, but they're still lingering around because they need you. You know, usury, like, ugh, it's just all the yuckiest of emotional, basically lying to yourself or others emotionally and the toxic mess that leads to. So usually to me, there's no way out of that. Like boundaries aren't going to change that situation or that person. This is a sign like you or the other person maybe needs some serious healing or therapy. So if your conflict is related to anything like this, I would say you need to completely remove yourself and take a good bath or dunk yourself in salt and cleanse it and just detach from it for a good while because you are not seeing it clearly and neither are they. And I find that mess just doesn't go away. This is definitely a time walking away is a good answer for conflict. Because if you have that card for your conflict and you open the door to start arguing, it'll just dig you deeper into a toxic mess. It's not worth it. All right, let's look at Leo's. Leo, how should you handle conflict this month? Well, swords again. So, Leo, how should you handle any conflict? Queen of Swords. Well, look at her. She's just chopped the person's head off, right? I've got you by the hair. That's a pretty clear answer. Again, Leo, you might need to just cut something out, cut something loose. If you're the queen in this case and you have, let's phrase it this way, if you have been feeling abused, mistreated, taken for granted for too long, you've said everything you could say, you've tried every possible way to resolve something and it's still not getting resolved, literally it's like off with their heads. I'm not being literal, of course. I never would condone anybody actually doing anything violent, but we're talking metaphorically. So it's again a sign of like, just cut it. You don't need this this dynamic, this person, this relationship to continue. And she's fierce, you know, she's very smart, she's very fierce. The cutting of the head can also represent, you know, it can be verbal with, she's a queen of swords. Swords is air. She can cut with her words. We're not talking about any literal physical knives and cuts. She cuts with her words. She might cut you out by just stopping to talk to you altogether. She could cut you down a notch and tell you something about what's going on, or call it like it is in such a way that everyone's just in shock. Now, the other thing to look at is if this tends to be your typical style of conflict, where you don't resolve them, you're constantly walking away and cutting people out or cutting people down, then you need to look at it in the opposite side. And you have to avoid being the Queen of Swords. So it all depends on what your typical response is, and your patterns. So if every time you're mad, you say something straight and blunt, and then you cut people out, you need to change that, and you need to start softening and listening. But if you're on the other end of it, where you're the generous Leo who's getting taken for granted a lot, or you feel mistreated or put down over and over, or whatever's going on as a pattern, and you don't typically stand up and cut things off and say what you need to say and defend yourself, then that's what you need to do. But that sounds like a pretty intense situation, but it's not surprising that that's a message for Leo, because Taurus and Scorpio are opposite and they're fixed sign. Saturn and Aquarius is a fixed sign. They're all squaring off. And what's the other square? Leo. Leo's the fixed sign that's missing from that angle. So Leos, you might find this full moon a little tougher than others. All right, so let's take a look at Virgos. All right, Virgo, how should you handle any conflict in your life right now? Adaptable, adaptable, adaptable. Change. The change card, the infinity, the dark and the light, the snake. The snake is the, you know, represents wisdom and change and transformation. And the infinity sign, you know, you're aware that everything always changes, everything goes up and down, back and forth, always will. There's dark and light in every situation. There's dark and light in every person. So in this case, it's actually quite a nice message, I think, too, because Virgo, if there's any conflicts right now, your best bet is to hold that sort of Buddha-like stance, you know, be present with other people. Don't get involved. Don't weigh in, give all of your detailed opinions just yet. Let people come to you and they'll ask you when they're ready for that. But for now, you're just going to be the one who sits there and says, and how do you feel about that? And how, and what do you think that could lead to? Or point out, well, you know, they're having a hard time, but they're not all bad. Or this person, you're the one pointing out the balance in this case. So calm, cool, collected, with an attitude of things always change. My situation will change. This situation's going to change. Pointing out that things change. You know, yin yang. If you want to go to the Tao, if you want to read the Tao, that's always a helpful thing I find to bring a certain peace to your vibration. Handling conflict by being sort of the wise one, and not giving in too many details just yet. It's very interesting. So that's very nice because that's telling me you don't really have a lot of conflict around you. All right, let's take a look at Libra. Libra, who hates conflict in general. Let's just see. If you have one, how should you handle it today? Well, you'll like this. Six of Swords. This is a very good card. Science. Mercury in Aquarius. You can see just sort of how calm and cool and organized and intricate and detailed this is. So Libra, if you're involved in any conflict, you're going to love this answer because I'm not telling you that you have to do anything that you wouldn't already want to do. Mercury in Aquarius would just mean stay very open-minded and detached. Gather information, gather information, gather information. So if anyone's putting you on the spot or confronting you, or you need to say anything difficult to anybody or whatever, just something bugs you, Google it. Look up more facts. Look up more info. Back yourself up with science. Back yourself up with something so that you don't feel so alone with it. And so that when you do respond to anybody that might be overly emotional or pushy, you're responding in, this is a very academic way of responding. It's not passive aggressive. It's sort of like, I don't know, let's say what would be an example now? Let's say you work at a store, somebody walks in without their mask, they start to give you a problem when you say, could you please put your mask on? That could escalate, right? With anybody right now. Six of Swords approach to that kind of conflict would be to stay very detached and say, I'm very sorry, madame or sir. The store policy, ever since this date, has clearly said customers must wear their mask. If you're not going to put it on, I'm going to have to call security. That was also decided and part of our store's regulations since la 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 la. You see what I mean? Like, it's got facts, it's informing, it's not getting heated, and it's not trying to force them, or if they escalate, all you do is you keep calm and factual. Just open your mind. That's all. Mercury in Aquarius, open your mind. All right, Scorpios, let's take a look for you. Because you're Scorpio, of course, this might be a little more of an intense full moon for you since it's hitting you. So if you have anything conflictual right now, your card is the Five of Swords. Well, that's often arguing. Sorry to say. Five of Swords is often a breakup or an argument. Doesn't mean it's permanent, but it's a heated argument. There's too many cooks in the kitchen with this card. Too many experts, too many people who know, too many voices weighing in on the same thing. And if it's just about you and one other person, well, maybe there's other people involved actually, or it's related to other people that you're arguing. But there's more than one party around. It's not just a twosome. And I'm getting a feeling also that you want to try to avoid any rip-roaring arguments. I just get a feeling of regretting your words. This full moon could really bring out a lot of regrets of what people have said, because if you get into the arguing side of this full moon, there could be a lot of really forceful, strong words said that you could regret after. Like I said, this could be a temporary fight, a hiatus, a timeout, a break, or you might just say, I quit with this card. So in this case, handling conflict, to me, the message is just argue, state your point and argue if you need to, but don't overdo it. Don't go into the dark zone where you're tearing people down or letting them tear you down, or it gets nasty or ugly. Don't let that happen. quit or break up or leave or walk away or take a 10-day time out before it gets so nasty you'd regret what you're saying. All right, Sagittarius. Right. So how should you handle conflict this month with this full moon, if there's any? Yeah, King of Cups. Interesting. So this would be a guy or a girl, woman, man who harmonizes, who brings the cup of love of, this cup has a crab in it. It's a Cancer card. There's a white horse, there's wings, there's beautiful blue, there's blonde hair, and there's holding up your cup in devotion. So this actually, for some reason, I'm hearing Michael Jackson, like, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't often hear his songs, channel songs, or hear, anyway, that's your message. How should you handle a conflict? I'm a lover, not a fighter. So you're the counselor, the harmonizer, the one who's going to listen to how everybody else is feeling. You're going to be there to let people unload their feelings or purge and you're just going to be like the psychologist or like the big bear hug that somebody needs. And you're not going to get involved in any conflict yourself. So that's a great message. Okay, Capricorns. Let's see for you now. So Cap, if you have any kind of conflict on this full moon, how should you handle it? Oh boy, okay, the Eon. The Eon is the equivalent of the Judgment card. So it's the second to last card in the major arcana, and it represents taking a definite step forward, a judgment, if you will. It's not Judgment Day happening to you with Crawley's deck. The judgment is your own declaration for yourself only, for your own life, not based on outward signs or anyone telling you or anyone else's advice. This is your moment. For me, this card is the come out of the closet card. Declare yourself. Stand before God. To me, that is Judgment Day anyway. Stand before God to be judged. Declare, this is who I am. And now you say, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I'm doing. Here I am. Judge me if you will. And the courage that it takes to do that. Right? So if I suddenly declare, I don't know, I'm an artist and I've never said it out loud. That's a declaration. That's a stance. I'm putting it out there. It's something I deeply feel. Nobody told me, you should really come out as an artist. No, you do it for yourself. And then you state it and then you take whatever reaction comes. So it's a turning point moment in your life. So if you have any conflict this full moon, it would say that you need to stand and get to that place inside yourself where you're just declaring what it is for you. It's nothing to do with a reaction to the other people, and it's nothing to do with trying to affect a certain outcome by what you say. When you come out of the closet, like if you say I'm an artist, you're not doing that hoping it's going to influence people. You're saying it because you need to say it. So if you're in a conflict about anything else, you can say, well, I want that. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I want. That's what I'm doing. And that would be how you sidestep or move things forward with whatever is conflictual. Let the person you're with know exactly where you stand and what you're going to do. What a cool, I'm just channeling this as we go, but I'm always amazed, like the questions that come to me to be that I choose to answer, that Spirit chooses to say, and then I answer. Yeah, I love these messages today. So many styles of conflict resolution in all of these signs, 10 already different ways to handle conflict. So if you're listening to all of these readings, like you might only listen to your sign, but if you're listening to all the readings, or you're not sure how to handle conflicts, this could be a great video to go back to for how to handle different conflict strategies. All right, let's take a look now. If you're an Aquarius, what is your message for conflict if you have one this month? Interesting. We have the passion, the lust card, which is the equivalent of the strength card, because you see a woman with a lion. And she is tapping into her sexuality big time. And basically, you know, she's naked, right, and lying backwards, riding the back of a lion, and she's unafraid. So this is definitely a message of, if you have any kind of conflict, then you resolve it with courage and with passion. Don't back down. You're not scared. You're not, it sort of feels a little similar to the last card, the Eon card for Capricorn, in a way, because you're coming out, like, it's sort of the after part of coming out and declaring where you stand. And but this is even more. It's like you're so confident in yourself that you're just letting yourself all hang out. Like there's nothing here about worrying what other people are going to think. She's fully convinced that, you know, whatever she wants to do, whatever she thinks that this is right for her, so she's just going to do it without any hesitation. And she's actually maybe even going to enjoy herself in the process. So if you have a conflict right now, to me, it just looks like you're just going to bring your full, whatever, you know, whatever aspect of yourself, you're going to just full on bring it out. You're not holding anything back. And it's not nasty. It's not about that. This is more like a major self-affirmation kind of card. So, like, I'll give you an example. It's not a super great example, but something similar. I was watching videos, TikTok video, and somebody posted a comedian who was making fun of fat women. And it was just such a cliche thing about fat women and why don't they just jog and all this stupidness, you know, as if like you're overweight because you're lazy. And so I commented on it. I usually stay away from those things, but I was more in this side of me. I was like, you know what? I'm a bigger woman, and I have damn good reasons why I became this way, and I forgive myself for those reasons. And I'm tired of people projecting laziness onto me, so I just took them on. I just said, well, you know, it's not that fun. It's actually not that funny, because obesity doesn't come from laziness a lot of the time. It's not a matter of jogging. It comes from previous trauma or from having lots of other, you know, legitimate health conditions. Like, and I just said, why is it fine to make fun of fat women still? And you know, lots of other groups you're not allowed to make fun of anymore, but fat women, it's still okay. And everybody was calling me miserable and said, I'm sorry you're fat and all this stuff. And I'm sorry you're such a miserable person. And I was just in this card, okay? I was just ready, like, bring it on, people, bring it on. I said, I'm sorry you're so ignorant, but that is not where it's coming from. And you don't know me at all. I'm not miserable at all. You don't even know me. So go do your research. Like, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed taking a stand because I fully accept myself with this issue. So I stood up for myself and for other fat women. So this is your conflict message too. Just as I did, like, whatever's going on, like, fully embrace who you are, accept who you are, express it, and enjoy that you're taking that stand. Enjoy a little bit of friction sometimes. Boy. Whew. All right, let's talk now to Pisces. What is your message if you have a conflict this month? The Magician. Get busy. That's what this tells me. Get busy. Don't even get bothered or involved at all. Like, what's the point? get busy, do your own creative work, retreat, like not hide, not isolate, but just be like, I don't even need this at all. I'm just busy doing my own stuff. I've got too much shit to do that's important. I got plans to do. I got work to do. I got hobbies to do. I got songs to write, books to write, paintings to do. I don't know. Things to bake. My kids are busy. I'm too busy. I got too much going on to be bothered with this crap. That's the message. And you can say that if you're in a conflict, you can say, I'm really sorry, but I can't get into this. I'm so busy. I love this. Wow. 12 different ways to handle conflict. Thank you to the tarot. So hopefully you won't find yourself in that. I just wanted to answer it in case you are, and in case it's helpful advice for any situation in the future. And once again, if you would like a longer reading, or if you're interested in learning anything from me, I teach astrology classes coming up, and I have an online tarot course that you might want to check out. You can look at all the links. Please click like and subscribe. That'll help. And I wish everybody a wonderful full moon. Take care.